Hello.
Hello there, my name is Rebecca Iwa, and good to have you join us for another time on Reporters Roundtable, where we know that President Akufo-Addo, in his latest address to the nation on the state of the economy, revealed that his government is working to stabilize prices of petroleum products. He revealed that during his address and through a new supply arrangements in a bid to tackle the high cost of living. But experts caution that the price of fuel is dependent on the stability of the currency, the price of crude oil and other macroeconomic realities, but not the location at which the commodity is bought. Presently, a government of Ghana delegation is in Abu Dhabi negotiating a deal to bring in the products. We ask more questions on the feasibility of the president's submission and how the regulatory regime of petroleum products work, plus alternatives available to ease the burden on the consuming public. You can join us via text and on WhatsApp on 0244-745152. In studio to help us do this is Seth Eya. Seth is an editor-in-chief at GBC Radio. Also with him is Wilberforce Asari. Wilberforce Asari is the political editor at Asase Radio, and if we are hooked onto Zoom, then we'll have an expert's view from COPEC. Remember to join us in this conversation, and as a result of this stabilizing prices of petroleum products, we know that demonstrators are taking onto the streets, and when time permits, we'll also cross over to find out how happenings are going. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Wilberforce, how feasible is the president's submission to stabilize prices of petroleum products?
All right, so it's a tall order, if you ask me. It's a tall order because essentially oil prices are influenced by global happenings. But it is also an ambitious agenda because we are in desperate times. And so if you are in desperate times, you take desperate steps to resolve desperate situations. And so what I see is that there is something inside so strong, but you also know that you can make it. So you must take the steps to see what you can get for your people. And that's the reason why, whereas I think that the steps that are being taken or the steps that were announced by the presidents are difficult, I also think that the steps that are being taken by officials in the administration to get at least something is also worth following and worth hoping that it will materialize.
How about you, Seth?
Well, I think that we will require more details because there had been previous arrangements, normally government to government arrangements. And if you could remember, when President Akufo came to office in 2001, Ghana was on the verge of experiencing fuel shortage. So President Akufo traveled to Nigeria to enter into some arrangements with the Obasanjo government. Now, that arrangement was such that instead of Ghana being given 30-day credit, Ghana was given 90-day credit. So the crude will come, Tamaoya refinery will refine, distribution will take place. Then after 3 months, government of Ghana will mobilize money and go and pay. And if you could remember, a company called Sahara Oil came in, and so Sahara Oil was doing the lifting for Ghana. For this arrangement, because we don't have enough details, we don't know whether government is going in for refined product. And if government is going in for refined product, is bust ready to store the refined product? Because as we speak, we cannot be sure of bust farm tanks, or is it going to be stored by Tamaoya refinery? Because if it is crude, then we can easily predict that Tamaoya refinery will refine the crude. And you see, the advantage of having an oil refinery is that when you refine, you don't just get fuel, you also get other byproducts. So Tamaoya refinery, for us at all, has a catalytic plant. That plant processes LPG. We can also have coal tar. In this country, we import coal tar. I know that Gold has joined Cote d'Ivoire to establish coal tar manufacturing, something in Cote d'Ivoire. So when you have the refinery working, yes, but if it's going to be crude oil, I'll be wondering whether it's Tamale refinery that is going to refine it. But if it's going to be a finished product, maybe, as I said, we'll need more details. Because the finished product will be lifted by who? Is it the same BDCs, or is it going to be done by BOST? Because I understand the BOST chief executive or somebody from BOST is also part of the delegation that has gone to the United Arab Emirates. And so we'll need a bit more information as to how it's going to be done.
But is oil still refined in Ghana at the Tama Oil Refinery, or it is taken outside of the country and we buy it at huge prices? Do we still refine oil?
No, so the Tama Oil Refinery, to the best of my understanding, is not processing as at now, because it has obviously had challenges. I'm sure Seth has much more information on that. So Tama Oil Refinery is not processing, and I've read a story from the IES where they are saying that instead of looking at imports, generally, if you listen to the president's address, you get to understand that one of the things that is killing us as a country is our over dependence on imports. One of the biggest things we import into our country is fuel. It takes about the biggest chunk of our imports, and then rice and all the others coming. So to a very large extent, every importation will create issues for your country. So there's a recommendation that instead of looking at importing, you want to look at refining here so that it is domesticated. But you look at both sides and you see that the sense of urgency now, the challenges we have now, it will not wait for you to go through the processes of organizing yourself to refine and to localize your production and supply of fuel. So you must take some urgent steps to get already refined products that you can readily supply to the market and bring down prices immediately. Whilst in the long term, you are thinking about how you can revive the refinery of crude oil right here in your country. I know there's a private refinery that is being set up. I've forgotten the name. It has, yes, and they are coming in to support the refinery because it's a huge market. Tor alone is not able. Tor in its full capacity can refine about 45,000 barrels per day or so, I'm told, and the country consumes almost 100,000 barrels a day of fuel. So what it means that even if Tor is in full capacity, it can only meet about 45% of the need, and you still need the 55% met. So either you are importing it from other jurisdictions. I was just doing some read up on social on online, and I gathered that there are about the top 10 countries that produce crude. I think the United States sits at the top. I don't know why it sits at the top, but it sits at the top as the biggest. And then you have the Saudi Arabia, and that's where our delegation is, right? Or
in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, in Abu Dhabi. Yeah. So Abu Dhabi is in the list. Then you talk about Russia in third, Canada, and you also talk about China. You talk about Iraq, and then United Arab Emirates is the 7th on the list, and then you talk about Brazil, and then I think Iran, and then Kuwait comes at the latter part. So these are the sources where you can get it. I'm not surprised that our delegation is at United Arab Emirates because they are one of the top 10 in the country, but they are business people, and the international markets influence what they how much they sell their products and all that. They can give to you, like Seth was saying about the arrangement that was made in the Akufo time, where there was, instead of paying in 30 days, you were paying in 90 days. So you have a breathing space to gather money, go and pay, and then you get the supply regular. Maybe something of that sort is what they are working on. But overall, the argument that I'm making is that the short-term measure is going out there and trying to look for alternative sources, but the long-term measure is taking steps to get the production here. Just like we are trying to take steps to produce the rice we consume in Ghana, we must take steps to produce the oil we need to consume here in Ghana.
The agency, as you have alluded to, but I'm wondering what kept us from not having that forward-mindedness of knowing that someday maybe our country will become the hub for supplying oil, so that we can revamp our oil refinery, or better perhaps upgrade it to the amount that we were producing to be able to contain and even export, because you talk about imports, and if the imports are huge, do we even have the money now to be paying for what we are going for, considering the economic crisis we find ourselves in?
So it still comes to me, or it comes to my boss.
Think about it.
Okay, I will. I have a comment to make on that, but I think my
no. You see, in terms of expanding TOR, I think that subsequent governments have failed us, because TOR has been refining crude at 45,000 barrels per day. Since when? And you know, when we discovered oil, the assumption was that all of our challenges were going to be addressed. You get it? Now, here's the case: we have TOR. Now it is not refining. For me, I think that this one is for the long term, but for the immediate term, bringing in refined product is the best way out. And I'm sure that the delegation will also be looking at, the finances aspect of the whole deal. And I am sure government of Ghana may not even get it at the prevailing international price, considering our situation. Ghana is a darling of a lot of countries in the world. And you see, in the Arab world, you see, most of their crude and what have you is managed by the states. They do this monarchical sort of things. Yeah. So if you go to Saudi Arabia, it is state-owned. If you go to United Arab Emirates, it is state-owned. And so at least government-to-government negotiations may help us, because it can be that they will not sell the refined product to us at the prevailing international markets. But then my issue is that, is BOST ready to receive the refined product? Or maybe BOST and Temoil Refinery, because I know that they have tanks. Because since TOR has not been refining, it's the BDCs that have been using the tanks of TOR and BOST. So now I'm sure by now there should be some renovations and what have you ongoing, so that the tanks will be able to receive the refined products, then distribution can start. And I'm sure government is looking at it, getting it at an affordable rate. Then when it comes down, it will also sell it at an affordable rate, such that it will be able to raise the money to go and pay, as will be agreed upon. As I said, I'm sure when the delegation comes back, Minister of Energy will brief us, and they will give us details of everything that has been agreed on. But as we speak, I think that bringing in refined products will be the best way out, and at an affordable price. And I don't know, for government must also look at the various taxes on our fuel again. Look, since 2001, we've had this Temoil oil recovery levy. TOR levy has been, as I said, since 2001, and it is still part of the tax build-up. It must go. But then what I've also realized is that the oil or the fuel sector also gives government ready revenue. You see, as we are paying high now, government is also raking in more revenue. And you see, just 2 days ago or so, government had decided not to subsidize RFO. But the question is that a tax was introduced, is it the price stabilization levy or something, was introduced, I think, 2014 or 2015. Yeah, so that when in difficulties such as where we find ourselves, the money accrued could be used to cushion consumers. Because now the thing is that the sector is deregulated. Now government is no longer subsidizing. Until recently, government was subsidizing premix, was subsidizing premix. Now that one too, because the RFO has been suspended, is also no longer going to be subsidized. But then government must still look at it if he wants us to enjoy some breeze, because now even the lorry fares alone, this morning, since yesterday I've been complaining, and it's like a joke, but it's really happening. Now some people are even bothering the various throttle for the first time. When the fares are mentioned to them, they exclaim. Just this morning, it even happened on the vehicle that I was on coming to the office. And so I think that, you see, the whole thing is we need information. My prayer is that this deal will be successful, and when it comes, the prices will be such that it will help us, it will cushion us a bit, as the president said. But if it's also going to be, as usual, the normal international price, then somebody will say, did we go or did we come?
I'll come back to you because I want to have a follow-up with you, because some experts have said that you know what, your president should be cautious about putting out would I say affordable petroleum prices, because those things are determined by the rate of your currency and again other macroeconomic realities. So I'll come back to for a follow-up on that. But let me come to Wilbur first. I asked the question earlier before I went to Seth on why we didn't have that forward thinking of revamping toll, so that around this time when the world is suffering, you see, we could have supplied other parts of the world with oil.
Rebecca, you know, it is quite difficult to talk about the toll story, and that's because for every industry that is in the country, if it suffers the fate of toll, it means that as a country we are going down. Over the period, successive governments have come, and it looks like there hasn't been attention paid to toll because the oil marketing companies have simplified life. They've simplified life because it is risk-free. You have dollars, you go to the international market, all these 10 countries that are producers of oil, you can walk to any of them. Once you have your money, you give to them, you are supplied. It comes to the country, you sell it, you make your margins, you go back, the cycle continues. Why do you want to go through the risk of all these, the oil refineries where you are buying from, the countries where they are buying from, they have oil refineries just like you have. They have gone through the risk of using the refineries in their countries to refine, and then you, because you don't want any risk, are going to buy from them. You are providing jobs in those countries. So we've gotten to the point where, as a country, we are going to have to come to the point where we also want to take the risk. And the risk I'm talking about is taking it in all sectors. For example, even in the rice sector, the people who import up to the $800 million of rice into the country.
I will allow you continue, but as a result of this petroleum prices and all of those prices of goods and services have been affected, and people are complaining everywhere in our country. And as a result of that, there is a demonstration ongoing currently, and you can see the visuals on your screen now, where demonstrators are cladded in their red apparel, and they are all ready to take to our streets to demonstrate against the prevailing circumstances with our current economic quagmire. And as early as today, there was a heavy security presence at the point where the demonstrators will be taken off, and they were all set to ensure that there will be no casualty or nobody will go contrary to the rules that has been set.
Becky, if you can hear me, we are on air at the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, which is the starting point of this particular day's demonstration. And today's demonstration is tagged Kumi Preko, reloaded. If you remember, the original Kumi Preko was held in 1995, and that fateful demonstration was led by today's President of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Today, Kumi Preko Reloaded is led by a private legal practitioner with interest in social justice, Mr. Martin Kpebu, assisted by the leadership of the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF. They are right here, and I am going to call one of the leaders of the EFF, called Oliver Baker Vomawo, who is a renowned legal practitioner and has worked with the International Court of Justice for many years. Just hold on, and I am going to get him right here. Hold on with me.
I'm ready. You come.
Please. Oliver, can you tell us?
Being heckled there, and it's sad that, you know, just recently we celebrated the day against violence and crimes against journalists, and even in the bid to getting information at a public place and an all-important event of this sort, see how the journalist is being heckled and impeded not to getting the information or speaking to the organizers of the demonstration. Was this expected?
No, you see, Becky, people, for me, I still believe that people are yet to understand the work of the media. Even if the media is not in support of your political, economic, whatever cause, when the media comes or media approaches you, if you have information to give, go ahead. Oliver Baker Vomawo, I am sure, is ever ready to talk to GBC or GTV. But you see those hangers on, they are preventing Nuto from getting closer to
right.
to
I
him.
think Nuto has been able to get him to speak, so let's go back to... Hello, Nuto.
With us here.
Okay.
Honorable.
Bibini, it's good to see you.
Good to see you again.
Unfortunately, I can't smile because we live in very hard times. You know, we live in times where Ghanaians are finding it extremely difficult to get by. Today, even the price of cocoa porridge, you know, is becoming unbearable for the ordinary Ghanaian. When I was coming here, I picked Petro, and I can tell you that it's really, really difficult for many Ghanaians up and down the country. You know, the president, unfortunately, is out of touch. The president has refused to listen to the concerns of the ordinary Ghanaian. His finance minister has crashed the economy. You know, what Ghanaians are saying is that he should let the finance minister go. His own MPs, today collectively, the entire majority caucus have expressed a vote of no confidence in the finance minister. And if he was a listening government, a listening president, he would have asked the man to go by now, you know, or sacked him, you know, but because he's so out of touch with the concerns of the ordinary Ghanaian, this is not happening. We have the price stabilization levy, which is, you know, supposed to bring relief to Ghanaians whenever there are fluctuations in global fuel, you know, prices. Unfortunately, in spite of the windfall that government is receiving, they are not doing anything with the money, and we feel that it's become extremely unbearable for the ordinary Ghanaian.
Right, Honorable former MP for Kumbungu, I want to ask, I have been told that the main aim of the Kumipreko Reloaded demonstration today is to impress upon His Excellency the President to resign.
In any serious country, the president would have resigned by now. You've seen this happen in advanced democracies that we aspire to become like. I mean, we go to the UK for bilateral loans and the rest of it. Doesn't the president see what happens in the UK? Does he not see what happens in the House of Commons? You know, does he not see, you know, good governance practices around the world? So clearly, when you have a president who is refusing to listen to the demands of the people, who is refusing to listen to calls to sack his finance minister, then he himself ought to leave the stage, you know, because the applause is no longer loud. because the people have lost confidence in him. This was a president who said he was coming to bring relief, that he was coming so that people can afford rent. Today, what is the story amongst many Ghanaians? Today, what is the cost of food? What is the cost of transport? So he has failed every Ghanaian in every aspect. And you would expect that the president would apologize. First, to the good people of Ghana. Secondly, to ask his finance minister to go. Thirdly, to reduce the size of his government. But he's not a listening president. He's completely out of touch. And that is why we are undertaking this demonstration, and this is the first of many demonstrations to come. We would scale it up from a one-day demonstration to a weekly demonstration to a monthly demonstration, and we are energized to stay in the streets as long as possible until the government resigns.
Wow, then that will be tantamount to what happened in Sri Lanka. Do you have the energy to do that, to stay in the street until the president resigns? This sounds to me like a fatwa. Do you stand by it, and are you serious with that?
Ghanaians are serious. I mean, look at the faces of all these young people who are here to demonstrate, who have lost a sense of hope in their government. What is a week's demonstration or a month's demonstration to a man who's already died? And that is why we are saying he should kill us, because clearly the situation has become extremely unbearable for the ordinary Ghanaian. You should speak to people who used to run their own businesses. They've laid off workers. You should speak to workers who used to be a little comfortable commuting to and from work. Today, what is the story? Students are finding it difficult. Parents are finding it difficult. Young people are finding it difficult. Divorcees are finding it difficult. Couples, everybody, is finding the living conditions in our country difficult. And we are not in isolation. Why is it that Russia-Ukraine has hit the Gambia? Why is it that Russia-Ukraine has hit, Sierra Leone, has hit Liberia, has hit Cote d'Ivoire, has hit other countries? And yet their economies are not on their knees as much as our economy is. It clearly tells you that there's something wrong. Go to Senegal today. The president in Senegal has reduced the size of his government, as a way of demonstrating his goodwill towards dealing with the situation in his country. Why can't our president, who's completely out of touch, not do same?
Right. Thank you very much. We are so grateful, so grateful. We know we can always count on you anytime, anyhow, unless you have something else to tell the people who are demonstrating your comment.
We want to thank the media as well, and we want to encourage everybody to comport themselves. The Constitution allows for us to demonstrate peacefully. We know that goons of the government would like to infiltrate, as they have always done, peaceful demonstrations like this to create chaos and mess. We are peacefully marching to drum home, our demands, to make our points clearly to the good people of Ghana, to the president, and to the world. We don't want any trouble. All demonstrators, comport yourselves. But when goons of the government, when thugs, MPP, what you call them, was invisible forces, dressed as police officers and security officers, infiltrate our ranks, we still would have to be able to point them out. So let's look out for each other. Let's know who is part of us and who is not part of us, and be able to identify these criminals who would want to mar a very beautiful and peaceful demonstration today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The team is still marching in and around the circle, and we, as a national network, Ghana Television News, we are going to be with them every step of the way until this day's demonstration is done. But just to give a recap of everything, the Kumi Preko demonstration reloaded, which original version was held in 1995, today is being played back to the one who led the original version, His Excellency the President, that the things and the situation and economic difficulties that he felt that as a social interest lawyer, as a public interest lawyer, he should lead to get things done right. Today, those who have assembled here are saying that the situation today is worse than it used to be in 1995. So they are demanding that the president, together with his government, will resign. As to whether that will be a reality, only time will tell. Becky, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nuto Bibini Nuto, reporting right there from the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, where demonstrators have gathered, waiting to move as a result of the present economic crisis. They have dubbed it the Kumi Preko Reloaded, and it is currently ongoing. You could see the demonstrators cladded in red. He had spoken to a freelance media publicist and a Ghanaian politician, the former Kumbungu MP Ras Mubarak there, and those were the visuals you had, and it ties in to stabilizing the prices of our petroleum products, because that in its stead, once there is stability, all the branches, I would say, will remain silent.
Well, you know, demonstrations are the rights of everybody. It's guaranteed under the 1992 Constitution, and so anybody who wants to demonstrate, once you meet the criteria set out in the Public Order Act, also you are good to go to demonstrate. However, my candid view is that when you have a problem, or they say there is no problem that wise people can solve, and most of the time problems are solved in the quiet negotiations about the issue. When you bring all the variables on the table and you sit and you talk, you are able to resolve the issues. It is very true, it's tried knowledge that we have economic challenges, but I don't know to what extent the demonstrations are going to resolve it unless we sit down to talk about them. So after the demonstration, you will still have to come and sit down, talk about the issues, get the realities of the issues, discuss them, and then find amicable solutions to them. So, like the president's address, in which he points out 12 steps that he intends to take. I've been looking at the 12 steps, and I'm looking at which agencies or individuals or ministries are responsible for its implementation, and I'm looking at how these 12-point agenda can be implemented. One of the steps is the negotiations with the IMF, which is being led by the finance ministry. Another step is looking for cheap oil, which the energy ministry is already out and about looking for ways in which to do it. So I subscribe to demonstrations because it's a constitutional mechanism, but at the end of the demonstration, at the end of it or beyond it, you still have to sit down and negotiate. When Kumi Preko hit in 1995, led by the current president, it did not resolve the issues that we had under Jerry Rawlings. It did not. Kumi Preko alone did not. Later on, they had to sit down, discuss, and find an amicable solution to the economic challenges that we were facing. And several programs as a result of the talking came up, and that is how we were able to revive the economy. It led to a change of government in 2000. Kufuor came to do his part. Kufuor's era, a lot of things were done. Change of government came again in 2009. Former President Atta Mills came, did his part. President Mahama came, did his part. President Akufo-Addo is now in, trying to do his part. Beyond President Akufo-Addo, another president will come, and that person will also have to do his part or her part to make sure that we build this our country. So it is going to take the negotiations, not just the demonstrations.
Taking the negotiations, not just the demonstrations. That is a punchline for
the Kumi Preko Reloaded reminds me of the first one that I was in Upper 6 at Accra Academy.
Did you join?
No, we were in the boarding house. Okay. So you couldn't go for exit to go and join demonstrations such as that. And you know, it was against the introduction of VAT. And as we speak, it remains the largest demonstration ever to hit Ghana. And I remember President Akufo-Addo was the spokesperson for the group. You know, the group had Dr. Charles Rekubrobi, Kwesi Pratt, Kweku Bakun, the late Victor Newman, who was, until his death, was the director of research at the presidency. You know, they were there. They were the people. And so you see, VAT was a new tax that was being introduced. It was consumption tax. So if you buy something at the time, you have to pay 17.5. Now the argument became back and forth. It was I mean too much. You have to go back, blah blah. Government also said that look, we need revenue. So it was back and forth. Then Kumi Preku came. Apart from the one that was held in Accra, which we had some people dying, there was another one in Kumasi. So we moved from Kumi Preku, Siye Preku, Wieye Preku. So every region that it was organized, the name metamorphosed into another name, and it became so interesting. And I remember that day on Accra campus, we even had to argue among ourselves. That look, demonstration, why should people die? Why should people die in demonstration? Why should people be maimed in demonstration?
But are you seeing, do you see that this demonstration will...
It had an impact.
That is where I'm
the 1995 one had an impact.
How about this one? What do you foresee?
The government withdrew the VAT. And after further consultations and what have you, the threshold was brought down. So that one, we can say that, yes, it achieved its results. But the focus of this one is to ask the president and the vice president to resign. As to whether that will happen, maybe time will tell. And I mean, it's obvious.
And that is not just an internal, with what we are witnessing now. You see, the example you gave was an internal thing of the value added tax that was brought down. But this one is coupled with every other variable on the international scene coming into play, as against what are internal measures that we have also not done well with.
And that is the reason why. And that is the reason why I said that if you want to resolve the problem, you are going to have to look at all the variables. The variables then, in 1995, as far as VAT is concerned, you know the interesting thing. The interesting thing is that current President Akufo-Addo's government, a government that he was part of under Akufo, when they came to power, they reviewed VAT
upwards.
And it went upwards. Subsequently, other governments that have come have also come to review other taxes that were introduced by MPP administration, and during an NDC administration was reviewed upwards and all that. So you see, I was saying that at that time, it sounded sweet and nice to agitate, because the then government was trying to introduce a measure. But subsequently, you come and you realize that your agitation was flawed. So you come and you now are coming to review and increase the tax that you fought against some years ago.
Right. Let me bring in our viewers. Some have started calling, but I'll be glad if you will send a WhatsApp message or a text message to the number displayed on your screen. It's 0244-745152. 0244-745152. Send in your concerns, your suggestions, your comments, and remember to like our page, comment on our page on Facebook at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, where we stream in live, and also on Reporters Roundtable on Facebook. Follow that page, and so you can also have a live feed of what is happening. This one says, I wish the president would discuss with the finance minister to resign. And you didn't add your name. Please add your name and probably where you're sending us the messages from. And we know that with concerning this one, the president has said that we should allow the finance minister to seal the deal with IMF, right? Yes. And go through with the budget proposal, and appropriation, after which hopefully he might resign, or that is not it.
No, so that is not that, to the best of my knowledge, that is not the understanding. Okay. The understanding is that when the majority members of parliament articulated their interest, the president met with them and suggested to them that the exigencies of the times that we are in are such that the call you are making is not something that should be up now for discussion, because the subject matter is the one leading all efforts aimed at reviewing our current economic circumstance.
If you're watching us live now, please send a text message. I can see people calling the phone. Send in a text message and we will be glad to receive them right here. Send in a text message to the number displayed on your screen. Kindly do not call the line. It is a text line. It's the WhatsApp line. So you can send in your text messages on that line. Yeah.
You see, the key issue, the issue about fuel prices in Ghana, I quite remember years ago when Dr. Akufo-Addo was the finance minister. You know, at that time, every budget statement left every Ghanaian sitting on tenterhooks because prices of fuel definitely will be announced by the finance minister. Prices of other items will all be announced by the finance minister. And so when Kufo came in at that time...
Okay, before you continue with the Kufo thing, we have resign or be impeached on the placards of some of the demonstrators. IMF, I'm not seeing clearly from where I sit, but you can see their placards. The demonstrations have started peacefully on the streets of Accra, and they are fighting for the economic situation in our country so that we can be cushioned a bit, and they are calling on the president. And per their placards you could see that they are saying that if the president do not resign, then they would have to impeach. That is what I'm seeing, resign or be impeached. And you can see the demonstrators working peacefully. They are now around the Adabraka area, and you can see heavy security behind there. Then they have barricaded off the place with all the accoutrements, and you can see the police there ready to ensure that the demonstration becomes very peaceful. And when you go through that stretch, you could see police all over, and where
you see the traffic,
and you can see the traffic also mounting, and it was expected. It was expected.
Yeah.
So if you're using that stretch too, you should know that around this time, obviously you will fall into traffic. So if there are other routes you can use, please do use other routes, because as we speak now, the Kumipreko demonstration, or the Kumipreko Reloaded, is ongoing from that Kwame Nkrumah circle stretch throughout the streets of Accra. There are areas that have been demarcated for the demonstrators to go through, and their leaders are ensuring that they go through the right routes and the demonstrations become peaceful. So there you have it. But can government save the situation with the latest news of alternative of petroleum products?
Well, so just before I make that comment, if you look at the police in the visuals you were showing, you see a lot of professionalism being displayed by the police in terms of their regalia, their equipment and everything. And so the police need to be commended for the level of professionalism that they are showing, because this is international standards, if you ask me. But the issue about government, I believe that the issue must be resolved. 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, when the Akufo-Addo government was serving in its first term, we didn't have the situations that we have here. In fact, the economy was said to be the fastest growing economy in the world. This same economy we are in, 2017 to 2020. After COVID hit and the unfortunate geopolitical war in Russia, we started having these issues that we're having. It is the reality. You can rationalize it away, you can reject it, you can refuse to listen to it. It is the reality. And so, some way, somehow, we are going to have to navigate our way through the current situation. And it will take negotiations and not fighting. So I still stand by my point that we are going to have to negotiate our way out of these issues. And so let's hope that the government can have the needed support it deserves so that it can negotiate us out of this way. Maybe the president's rhetoric ahead of the, in fact, at the heart of the COVID-19 pandemic, where he says that he doesn't know how to bring human beings to life, but they do know how to revive the economy. Perhaps this is the test. Reviving the economy has come. The test has come, and test must be written, and it must be marked. Once it's marked, you get results.
Yeah.
So let's hope that the test will be written, or is being written, and then it will be marked, and then the results will come, and hope that we get more than 70%.
I listened to Martin Pebu, the convener of this particular demonstration, and he said that next week he'll be petitioning the president, and I'm sure in that petition all his concerns and that of others will feature in the petition that will be presented to the president. And I am hoping that we get a fair deal in UAE that will enable government to also ensure that fuel prices come down. Because when fuel prices come down, I think it should come down at a level that all of us can also put pressure on the commercial transport operators to also reduce their fares. You see, what has been happening in the past is that, as Kwame Nkrumah said, forward ever, backward never. When prices of goods and services go up under certain circumstances, they don't come back when issues are addressed, when things settle. So I'm hoping that the president will be successful in getting Ghana a very good deal from United Arab Emirates. The fuel prices will come down, because you see, fuel prices has been a very thorny political issue in this country. That I quite remember those times President Akufo will carry a gallon of fuel among the political platform. They will raise it, and then we move to me talk Derby. The boy say 6 cities. We move to me talk Derby. But then when President Akufo came to power and the reality hit him, he was compelled by the reality to increase fuel price from, I think, 6 cities to 21 cities, because that was the reality. 2008, when Professor Mills was also shouting, reduce fuel prices because crude oil on the international market had come down, reduced. Then Professor Mills said, oh, when I come, I'll reduce it drastically. Then President Akufo, when he was about to exit, reduce it. Then Professor Mills, when he also assumed office in 2009, also reduced it marginally. Unfortunately, not long, fuel prices started going up again, because that was a reality. That was a reality.
And it actually led to 2015, the Mahama government introducing the deregulation. The
deregulation and the price stabilization.
Yes.
Because the government before him, the Atamil's government, was reluctant in implementing that law. You know, Kufuor passed it because it became clear that government of Ghana was accumulating so much debt, which nearly collapsed Ghana Commercial Bank. Then President Kufuor then introduced the toll recovery levy. That was what, when Professor Mills assumed office, he used that money to settle part of toll's indebtedness to Ghana Commercial Bank. Otherwise, GCB Bank was going to collapse. And that levy has remained as we speak. Yet, the very reason for which that levy was introduced, now toll is gasping for breath. For me, I am hoping that the government will get a good deal. Then when it comes to
I'll
Ghana,
come back to you. Aside the good deal, that is a short-term measure, but in the long term, what do you look forward to? But let me come to Wilberforce. How can the skyrocketing fuel prices be controlled?
Right now, in the current circumstances, it's going to be difficult to control because the fuel is being bought by the OMCs from the international market. When they go there, they don't give it to them at a controlled price. They give to them at the prevailing price. I checked before I came, and Brent is now about $96 per barrel. So if you are going to the international market to go and buy, and it's at that price, you can't go and lift it, bring it here, and come and sell it cheaper. No businessman does that. So the current circumstance, there's no way the price is going to go down. If the government is able to get an arrangement with the authorities in UAE and maybe get a moratorium and say that you are not going to pay in 30 days, you can pay in 90 days, then it creates space so you can come and sell and get your margins and all that. Even that, from where I sit, I'm not an economist, and so I will not try to go into that space, but I still see that it's difficult. But you are better off trying to get something than folding your arms and doing nothing about the situation. And that's what I see the Akufo-Addo government doing. Instead of just folding the arms and say that let it be because it's deregulated. If you want to buy it, buy it. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. I drive an i10. It used to cost me 200 cedis to fill the tank. Now it is 600 cedis. So yes, it's an i10. It's 1.2 liter engine. So I'm looking at those who are driving 2.4 liter engines and 5.6 liter engines, Land Cruisers. They are probably buying like 2,500 Ghana cedis to fill their tank.
And you know, the funny thing is that they have adjusted the pumps. I don't know whether you are experiencing same.
So the fuel finishes early or what?
No, you see,
Perhaps you are buying it at, let's say, diesel at 23.69 or something, but instead of getting that 23, you are getting like 20.1.
No, that is a criminality.
Yes,
that is criminal.
Some and people have brought that to our
so that is criminal. If anybody is engaged in that, it is not the right. And there is a regulator. The regulator is MPA. Recently, MPA had occasion to close one of the filling stations because they caught them red-handed cheating customers. So the regulator must be up and doing to show that it regulates that sector, because if this thing is costing this much and people are forcing to buy it and you are cheating them, it's double jeopardy, and that cannot be fair. So the regulator's attention is drawn to this issue. I have seen that they've closed one filling station, but if it's still continuing other filling stations, then the regulator must pick up his whip and whip the people in line. Because
this came from a viewer, so you didn't give us the full details. If that experience you just shared with us, if you have the fuel station or that station, please send us the details so that the regulators can follow up. We'll share the information with the regulators so that they follow up. But my time is up. Let
me add to what Wilberforce said. You see, sometimes sometimes it is like that. You see, you've been buying the fuel at a certain price, but then now it has moved to 23.6. Maybe when the quantity that you've been getting previously, because the price has gone up, you will not get the same quantity unless you top up. So sometimes you buy, let's say you buy 2,000, before it came to 23.6, you were getting some liters. Now you have to pay more, but you bought the same 2,000 and expected that you get the same quantity. You get what I'm trying to put across. So you see, when it happens like that, you get shocked. You think that you have been shortchanged. You see, you feel that you have been shortchanged, even though there are people in the system who are cheating the system. It was only one. There were a number of filling stations that were closed down. You see, but for me, the CD is also a contributing factor. You see, as for the world market price, they are where they are. It is our CD, as somebody will say, that is depreciating against the dollar. So even if you get it, let's say $96 today, and your CD loses grounds to the dollar, you now have to go in for more CDs in order to, buy the crude at $96. So I'm sure when the president is looking at making sure that we get affordable fuel, he will also turn his attention to stabilizing the CD against the dollar. Because otherwise, if the situation remains the same, everything that he will do will come to naught. Just because of the depreciation.
Largely,
of the
I think the CD has become a bit more stabilized this past week, because I went into a banking hall yesterday and their exchange rate in the banking hall was 12 cedis, 12.5 to the US dollar. So I think that it's stabilizing, it's coming down, even from the turbulent time, which is about a week or so ago. It went up to 15 now. I think in the outside market it's about 13. So it means that there is something happening and it is dropping. I am hoping that it will drop up to 10 or perhaps even below 10, so that it helps, because that's what he's saying. If the price of your currency, if your currency is depreciating against the dollar, it doesn't matter what's happening on the international market. Even if the Brent is coming down to 90, you will still need more dollars to go and buy the 90 because your CD is depreciating. So really, the stabilization of the CD is extremely important.
And why did you wait this long, even though we knew what we had to do to get the CD stabilized?
So I don't think that it's a matter of waiting long, but I think it was a matter of speculation on the market and also the rush. See, when the dollar crossed 10, people literally were rushing, going to change their CDs into dollars. And that is what affected the price. So really, the speculation and the issue about Sikam PDD that came up recent time from the president's address is real. People are trivializing it, but it is so real. It's so real because if you talk down your own currency, it will go down.
It even talks about the power of words. Whatever you say, they are spirits, so it will manifest. That is what the scan is. But people are trivializing, just as you said. But please, we'll go back to. My time is up, but we have to go back to the demonstration grounds and see what is happening. Then we wrap up quickly. But you have said that the skyrocketing petroleum prices cannot be tackled now.
For me,
how far-reaching will that impact be?
No, that's for the impact cuts across all sectors of the economy. That's why I said government must do well to stabilize it, and I hope that it will be done. Because look, today we have food items on the market, even locally produced food items being expensive. And when you ask the traders, they tell you
fuel prices.
Dollar. And that's why I was expecting the president should have given us a hint as to what government is doing about, cutting food items from the food producing community.
The Agric minister has made mention of something like that.
Yeah, to the urban centers.
But Becky, I think, Rebecca, I think that we must, as a people, take decisions to cut down on certain things. I will drive here because what I'm coming to do here is important. But I will not drive to other places where there is nothing important about going there if I can do whatever I was going to do there by telephone and all that. So it's a matter of lifestyle. People have to adjust their lifestyle to meet their economic reality. If you think that you want to continue living the normal life you were living, it's going to be difficult.
What measures should government be taking as far as reviving toll? Because we refine our oil outside and buy it at huge prices. But if we can refine it ourselves, what long-term measures should we look at?
So the issues about domestication. Some time ago, there was a political figure who was championing domestication. We have gone round and during COVID-19, during COVID-19, we domesticated several things. We started producing our own nose masks. I started buying nose masks that are Ghana made instead of the Chinese one because I felt that I should be patriotic. We started producing our own sanitizers. I was buying sanitizer from NS Chemist. And somebody told me something yesterday. I had an interview with the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. I think his name is Bedu Abuaje. And he told me that NS Chemist, all those industries that are big now in Ghana, they all began as importers. But today, they are producing locally. So domestication is the way to go. Producing what you eat, what you wear, the basic needs, the basic human needs. If you are a country and you produce those things internally and consume them internally, you have a strong microeconomy, a base, strong base, because those are the things that people need in bulk. Food, every one of us have to eat. Clothing, every one of us have to wear clothing and all those kind of things. I'm looking at this studio right now and he's wearing a clothing made in Ghana. I don't believe yours was made in Ghana. I don't believe mine was made in Ghana. Well, okay, thank God. But the material, I'm not sure is from Ghana. What I'm wearing is not from Ghana. What we are drinking, this water is Ghana. This cup, did we make it here in Ghana?
Time is up. In a second, long-term measure.
Well, domestication is the way to go.
You agree to that. Domestication is the way to go in stabilizing prices of our petroleum products, and take a look at the Tema oil refinery once again, even though government is looking at interim measures of alleviating that space for us. Thank you so much. Wilberforce Asari. Wilberforce Asari is appearing on the round table for the first time, and he's the political editor of Asasi Radio. Wilberforce, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And Seth Eyia is also the editor-in-chief with GBC Radio. Seth, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And thank you, Ghana, for being a part of this program. You wanted to talk to us via phone, and it was not possible for you to do that. And some of you sent in text messages. We are so grateful for that. And do remember us in our prayer, in your prayer, anytime you say so, for us and also for Ghana. We'll see you again, God willing, next week.